Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
Breaking news, deputies are in pursuit of a reckless driver in Inglewood.
SkyCal is overhead right now.
Let's go to Desmond Shaw. Des.
Hi, guys.
Oh.
There's no Des.
Okay, this is a pursuit by the LA County Sheriff's Department in pursuit of a driver of a 2018 black Nissan sedan. And we are, as you can see, the airspace near LAX will be affecting us. Mike Rogers is at the desk. Can you give us a little bit more information about what's happening here?
Hi, you guys. Yeah, so this is the black car we're looking at here. It's a 2018 black Nissan. And actually, California Highway Patrol just took over the pursuit as we came on here. So the Sheriff's Department, the Carson-Compton Sheriff's Department actually started this. And the only thing they wanted it for was a reckless driver. They call it a reckless deuce, which means could potentially be a reckless driver, could potentially be DUI, something to indicate to them that this person may be impaired or not driving the way they should be. They chased them on the 105 westbound to the 405 north. They got all the way to about La Cienega, circled some surface streets on La Cienega, got back off and came back southbound on the 405, which is where we are now. SkyCal's just getting our good look here, and I'm being told some damage on the driver's side there. Looks like maybe near that rear door. Heavily tinted windows, it looks like as well, you guys, which is going to be hard for the Sheriff's Department or CHP to be able to see inside there. Now, CHP has taken over, which means the Sheriff's Department will back out because CHP, it's either all theirs or they're not involved at all. They don't like the mix with half sheriff, half CHP. CHP wants to take full tactical control of this, which is what we see here now.
And Mike, we're seeing suddenly a sudden sprint, a burst of speed here. Look at the traffic, right? Still very heavy traffic out there. We were seeing this driver at a pretty slow rate of speed, and then all of a sudden he took off. CHP right behind him, right?
Yeah, Juan. So I've been listening to this, and his speeds really have been all over the place. When the sheriffs were chasing him, he was going as slow as 5 miles an hour. At other times during the pursuit, he's been up to 55. Right now, we're still under freeway speeds, but my guess is only because the freeway won't allow full freeway speeds right now. But his speeds really have been all over the place here. And this is, we're still southbound on the 405. We're now south of the 105 here, coming up on, I believe, Rosecrans.
You know, every time we cover one of these pursuits, we just hope that it's not during traffic hour like it is right now because of the fact that there's so many people out there. As you can see, the traffic is very heavy right now on this freeway, and this person is really driving recklessly, cutting across all lanes, narrowly missing two motorcycles as we speak, and now in the HOV lane.
Mike, do we prefer, these pursuits, obviously he's not going as fast, so injuries are definitely limited, but look at all this traffic and he's still, getting away pretty well.
You know, I personally get a little bit more nervous when they're on surface streets because things are a little bit more unpredictable. There's intersections, they could hit somebody in the intersection. So the freeways are just a little bit better because it's a little more predictable. You can really kind of generally only go one way, although there is a lot more traffic, but that traffic is also forcing him to stay at slower speeds. And I do see there's an LA County Sheriff's helicopter that's overhead right now. I'm waiting to see if CHP launches one of theirs out of Fullerton, which is usually typical. But right now I do have an LA County Sheriff's helicopter with them here.
Wow.
Well, if you're just joining us here on KCAL News at 4, this is breaking news, a pursuit of a reckless driver. As Mike Rogers at the desk was talking about, this is what law enforcement agencies call a reckless deuce, as they don't know if it's a reckless driving person or possibly someone who might be intoxicated. And as you can see, some cars moving out of the way to make sure that the CHP can pass by. They can definitely see those lights behind them, obviously. But as we were talking about, the freeway certainly making it a little easier for, in terms of, I should say safer, if anything, if we can't even say that, for pursuit, I guess, standards. If we're talking about being on surface streets right now at this hour, it can be very dangerous with pedestrians walking and such, but still, reckless driving, as you see here, just all over this freeway, weaving in and out of traffic. And, there are limitations to, what they can do to stop this person, especially with so many vehicles around them, Mike, right?
And really quick, I'm listening to some radio traffic here. This person is on the phone with CHP right now. They've called 911. They're communicating with CHP and apparently are telling the officers or the dispatcher that they are trying to go to the hospital. Apparently the dispatcher is asking what that reason is. It sounds like they're not necessarily saying right now, but They did say they called in the 911, said we're being chased by the sheriffs. We're just trying to go to the hospital. And you know, that may be true. It may not be. You know, the driving pattern, the 105 to the north 405 to the south 405. You know, generally, if somebody is going to the hospital, you just go to the hospital, not make some,
right?
You know,
how many hospitals do they pass during that
erratic
time?
movements up and down, you know, the freeway. So who knows if that's actually the case? CHP is now aware of that, though, so they may be handling this slightly different if they have reason to believe that somebody may be having a medical emergency inside of the vehicle. But the good news is there is communication with the driver. That's often half the battle, because what CHP will likely try to do is say, look, if there is a true medical emergency, pull over.
Sure.
We'll have an ambulance come meet you. We'll handle this. We'll take care of it. You don't need to, you know, run from us.
Or we can help you get there.
Right.
Exactly. Or
Safely.
or we can escort you. Or let's figure out what's going on. But they are on the phone with this driver. The sergeant has been made aware of that, and so I'm sure we may see a little bit of a different take on this from CHP if they have any reason to believe that there's a medical emergency.
Wow, interesting that the driver of this Nissan would be the one to call 911, tell them they're being chased by sheriffs.
Right.
And the reason they need to get to where they're going is they're looking for a hospital. And you know what, Mike? We've been watching this car go all the way from one extreme lane into the carpool lane and back. Here he is once again moving through traffic. He's even had opportunities to get off the freeway at times, but he stays on the freeway. And I'm saying he again because I'm assuming it's a gentleman driver, but here we are again, maybe another opportunity to get off the freeway. Let's see what he's going to do, Mike.
Right, and as I'm listening to this, there is now a CHP air unit overhead as well, and they're trying to get the dispatchers to ask the person, well, what hospital are you going to?
Right.
So the dispatcher says we haven't been able to get that from them yet. We're trying. So it sounds like, and there's a CHP helicopter in the shot right there as we exit the freeway here. At Inglewood. So it does sound like they are trying to, start that communication with this driver. Where are you going? Give us some more information on the medical emergency. So that's being done behind the scenes with the dispatcher.
And Mike, when did you first hear about this pursuit? What, like 20 minutes ago? Or so?
Let's see. About 4:27 is when we launched SkyCal. So, you know, and they were chasing it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes prior to that. So we're coming up on, close to a half an hour of this now. And again, we went westbound 105, northbound 405, southbound 405, and now we're exiting at Inglewood. So, it's understandable why law enforcement may be a little hesitant to believe the medical emergency thing, because, there's many hospitals between where we started and where we are now.
Sure, exactly. And it looks like they are obeying the traffic light here, stopping at the red. As you can see, the CHP officer is behind this person, also a motorcycle officer as well. But it's curious, though, as Juan was saying, it's very rare that we hear about, the actual driver being pursued.
Yeah.
In contact, in communication with the agency pursuing them, because usually it's, maybe a family member or something who's trying to convince them to, pull over or, just, stop this. But right now, it looks like they're actually in contact with the CHP telling them that I need to go to the hospital. But again, all the signs that we have seen do not indicate that this person actually wants and needs to go to the hospital, because if that were the case in this case right now, I don't think they would be stopping at the red light.
Right, and I just heard an additional piece of information that there is a second person in that car, and the driver is saying the passenger is the one that is in need of medical aid.
Medical help. I'm looking online here. The closest hospital that I could see near Inglewood is Centinela Hospital Medical Center on, I think it's Hardy Street there. So they could be going there. It's not far from the 105 and the 405 freeways. So let's see if they're heading in that direction. But that's as close as they're going to get to a medical center that I could see, a large medical center.
I mean, this is just a guess, but, as we were talking about, Mike, if this person did need to go to the hospital, there are means. I mean, they have law enforcement right there at their disposal.
Right.
If they really needed to, maybe they would have got out of the car at that stoplight and said, hey, we have to go to the hospital. The person, sitting next to me, is experiencing a medical emergency.
Right.
And officers are trained. They're trained with basic first aid. They can at least get this person stabilized and get an ambulance, or there's so many fire departments around town.
Sure.
They could get a fire truck and an ambulance headed in their direction, which is just very strange.
And just to show you guys, we got off the freeway and now we're going back north. So we've gone westbound, northbound, southbound, northbound. So that's where we're at. And we're on surface streets right now. And I am looking just in the general direction of where they're going for any kind of hospital. I don't immediately see one, but we are going now north into the city of Hawthorne with CHP still behind them. We do have a CHP helicopter overhead calling this as well.
Very, very interesting. Now this pursuit on surface streets there, as Mike was saying, Inglewood heading into Hawthorne at a slow rate of speed, 25 miles an hour. From what we know, the driver has called 911. Apparently the passenger in this car needs some sort of medical attention. And what this driver told 911 is that they were being chased by sheriff deputies and that they needed to get some sort of medical attention right away. But what we've seen is no indication of pulling over, of stopping. As Susie, you were saying, they're obeying laws as far as we know. They're staying in lanes right now that they're on surface streets. Mike, tell us what the map there is on the left.
Yeah,
what
so
is that?
what we're looking at on the left side of the screen, I'm tracking SkyCal and just kind of the movements of our helicopter and where we are, just to give people a little bit of a better idea. So you can see this, our SkyCal is Inglewood at Rosecrans right now. We're still moving north. These are some of the law enforcement helicopters that are overhead. So that's what I'm doing, is just kind of monitoring where we're at and where we're going. On the right side of the screen, though, is still that vehicle. Normal speeds, nothing terribly crazy, about 25 miles an hour on surface streets. I haven't, oh, hang on.
Are you hearing something, Mike?
Yeah, so now the person inside is telling dispatchers that they've had, and this is according to them, previous negative encounters with the sheriff's department, and that's why they don't want to stop for them. So the dispatcher is told the driver, the sheriffs aren't behind you, this is just CHP, pull over, let's deal with this, and let's talk. But apparently when the dispatcher says, why aren't you pulling over? They said, we've had previous negative interactions with the sheriff's department. We don't want to stop for them. We're hesitant. And they're just trying to encourage them now that this is CHP, not the sheriff's department. So let's work this out.
So the story is changing by the minute inside this car. At first, if you're just joining us here on KCAL News at 4, this is breaking news. A pursuit of a reckless driver. This driver calling 911 and saying, my passenger has a medical emergency and I need to get that person to the hospital. And that's, quote unquote, why I've been driving so recklessly. But it seems like
they may be pulling over now.
This could be the end, but
Well,
now they're
right?
saying that they've had some negative encounters, as Mike was saying, with the LA County Sheriff's Department, which is no longer the pursuing agency, by the way. It's now the CHP. And they're saying that that's because they were not pulling over. But as you can imagine, this is a very delicate operation for the CHP, because obviously, with the word that there was possibly a medical emergency inside this car, they're not going to try to pit maneuver this car. I mean, they can't do that because it could hurt, people inside that car if they're already suffering some sort of, illness or sickness or what have you. But this is really interesting because now it seems like they're just pulled over. The officers have their guns trained at this car, and we'll see what happens next.
Right there. Mike, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I just think it is interesting that as soon as we heard that piece of radio traffic, that CHP was telling them that we're not the sheriff's department, we're CHP, and now we do see the driver pull over. So it'll be interesting to see it. No door open, no window open yet, though, so we'll see if they follow any commands.
And if I was driving that car and I had a friend with a medical emergency sitting next to me and I know they were hurt, they needed some sort of help, you kind of put that first, right? You want to make sure that this person gets the medical attention they need. Good news is the pursuit for now seems to have stopped. It's now a bit of a standoff there on 135th and Inglewood Avenue. As we watch this unfold there, we haven't seen the windows come down yet. We haven't seen any movement. There's somebody there that's running by on the sidewalk. My guess is that the CHP is, do we see a window roll down there, Mike?
Yeah, so I just heard the person who's on the phone with 911 said, okay, we will comply. Just give us a second, but we will comply. Why they need that second, I'm not sure. But we do see the window rolling down now, so we may be starting to see them willing to end this.
Yeah, and you know that CHP officers on the ground, they're yelling the orders out, throw your hands out the window, throw the keys out the window, open the door from the front or the outside, and with your hands up, come towards the car, and show your waistband so they're sure you're not armed. But none of that is happening yet.
We did see the window come down shortly. Well, now we see some sort of movement there. If you can see that, the window is down, and hopefully now the window's back up again. So I'm guessing whatever's going on inside that car, tensions are running high, and there's still some concern if these two people say they've had negative reactions with law enforcement, they could still be a little on edge to come on out. But again, apparently the reason for this pursuit, or at least not pulling over, this driver said they want to get their friend to a hospital. Oh, now we see the passenger door opening up, and it looks like it's a woman holding a cell phone, hands up in the air.
She looks okay.
She looks okay.
The
And the
driver's
driver
got a dog.
looks okay as well. Is there a dog there?
Yeah,
Mike?
he's holding a dog in his right hand.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
well,
sure
yep.
officers are yelling at him to drop the dog. I'm certain
Looks like
of
a
it.
one of those Frenchy dogs, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like they're obeying the orders of officers there on the ground. They're usually telling you to come out with your hands up and walk towards the car, you know, with nothing in your hands. But as you can see, a dog in one hand for that man looks like a cell phone, and the other looks like she's on the
looks
phone
like she
with
has
someone.
2 phones.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's recording the encounter and then on the phone with somebody else in the other.
But this is very peculiar.
Is that a hospital?
It looks like she's on the phone, and with one hand she's got one phone, and then she's got another one, as you mentioned. She might be recording the whole situation going down. Doesn't seem like there's any medical emergency happening at this moment.
Well, you know, what I'm surprised by this picture is the fact that they don't have their hands up and they're still approaching officers. So
Right.
maybe they're not yelling those orders. Maybe they feel okay with them approaching, but so far we haven't seen any of the standard protocol that we see after a pursuit comes to an end.
Right, and as I see this CHP officer here from SkyCal, they do have their weapons drawn. CHP is treating this like a very normal pursuit. They've got their weapons drawn. They're giving them orders. It just looks like these two aren't following it, which, you know, kind of...
They're talking to them, saying something.
Yeah, so the woman here now you can see is talking to the CHP officer. It looks like they're trying to tell them something. You know, now that phones are coming out of the hand, CHP is not taking this very kindly. They want them to surrender, and watch. I'm sure she's going to be put in handcuffs here. And this man that's with her looks like that he doesn't want that to happen. So CHP is going to try to sort this out. I am monitoring LA County Fire in this area to see if they're responding at all, because allegedly that's how this all started, right? The folks inside the car called 911, said, you know, this woman that's with me, we don't know their relationship, is having a medical emergency, and we're trying to get to a hospital. So I'm monitoring that to see if LA County Fire gets dispatched here. But as we can see, the female being taken into custody, looks like the handcuffs are being put on her. Interesting enough, though, the driver is not necessarily being placed into handcuffs yet. CHP is talking, and as Pat and Jeff join me here, CHP has this shut down. I believe we're on 135th Street and Inglewood, right there at the intersection. I had been telling you that the driver here called 911, said they were looking for a hospital. They had said that they had previous negative interactions with the LA County Sheriff's Department, which is why, according to them, they didn't want to stop for the Sheriff's Department. Now we see the man here being placed into handcuffs as well. While they try to sort this all out. When they exited the vehicle, neither one of them did the typical, you know, thing we see at the end of pursuits here with the hands up, that kind of, you know, scenario. They basically just kind of walked back. She was on 2 cell phones. And Pat and Jeff, I'm going to send it over to you as we continue to watch this.
All right, thanks so much for that, Mike. And we have been watching this breaking news here on KCAL News Los Angeles, now beginning at 5 o'clock, where we see a couple there, 2 people that were wanted for reckless driving. Supposedly, the driver called CHP and said they were having an emergency, where they needed to get, I guess, the passenger to the hospital for some kind of emergency. They were driving at slow speeds, but they did not stop until just moments ago as they pulled over on a street, not at Centinela Hospital, which was the nearest hospital to where they are in the area. But now it's changed into, I want to say, a delicate situation. CHP has been very mindful, in my opinion, talking to these 2 people. They do have them in handcuffs. However, things do appear to be much calmer than they were. So now we're going to go back to programming on KCAL, and we continue this coverage of a pursuit that has come to an end on KCAL News at 5 on CBS Los Angeles. And as we were saying, we are following the end of a police pursuit. This was a very slow speed pursuit that happened in the city of Inglewood. And I believe these 2 people that you're looking at there that are in handcuffs approached the city of Hawthorne. They called CHP and said that someone was having an emergency. We assume it was the passenger of the vehicle, but they didn't pull over until now. I guess they were driving for about 20, 25 minutes at slow speeds and finally decided to pull over, but they did not follow natural procedure or protocol in getting out of the car with their hands up. But again, this looks like CHP has this situation under control, and they appear to be much calmer than what we had seen previously.
Yeah, two suspects there. The one at the top of your screen is going to be the male. That was the driver, wanted for reckless driving. A female, which is with the officers just below him. You see the motor officer with the helmet. It's obstructing the view of the woman passenger who was what we thought was in some sort of medical need. However, it doesn't appear that that is necessarily the case. Police officers have them detained at this point in time. The vehicle did pull over at 135th and Inglewood by CHP because at one point in time, the driver initially told the sheriff's department that they had a negative reaction with law enforcement officers in the past and that they wanted some other agency involved, if I'm correct. And that's when CHP then got involved. And then here comes to this point in time where it's soon to be a Code 4. We'll continue to follow this story here on CBS Los Angeles, as well as KCAL.
And maybe we will hear
newscasts.
from these people later to find out what the medical emergency was. Because, you know, just to say they don't appear, that could be appearances. Don't exactly know what is going on in between the two or in the mind of that woman there that was taken into custody. Okay, we're going to move on here at KCAL News at 5 o'clock on CBS Los Angeles.